You're listening to Amazing Radio. This is Amazing Afternoons. Delighted to say that I have Joe and Layla from Shrimp Eyes on the line. How you doing, guys? I'm representing and wearing the official merchandise.
We love that. I'm so upset I should have worn mine to match. We should have all been repping like our uniforms.
Yeah, exactly. But we didn't plan it. But we had planned to have a session track from you guys. We'll talk about that very soon because you've recorded a brilliant version of Adventures for us. But before we get there, for our listeners around the world, perhaps Joe, you could lead on this. Tell us about the band, how long you've been going, where you're based.
So we're based in London. Originally, we were kind of South London, but we've kind of all moved to different parts now. But we still practice in Brixton. Been going for a few years. We kind of stopped over the COVID times, as did everyone. But Layla kind of joined. What was it, like 3 or so months ago?
Yeah, so like May time.
Yeah, so this is a kind of like new start in a way. So it doesn't feel like it's been very long.
Yeah, it's great. Layla, have you performed in acts or bands yourself before this Shrimp Eyes project?
Yeah, well, I was in bands at uni. Like, I mean, I feel like everyone was, but like I dabbled. I used to play keys in a different band, but then when I started working, I just kind of fell out of it. I would do open mics and stuff, just at pubs, but never really anything as organized as this. So when Joe, I actually knew Joe through work, so when he got in touch, I was absolutely buzzing, absolutely wanted to jump
highly organized professional outfit that we are.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about that highly organized professional outfit. What is the kind of musical or other influences behind the music? What's the driving force and what's the collective interest in the band?
Collective interest in the band. I don't know if there is particularly one. I feel like we have a few bands which we all kind of like King Gizzard is probably our biggest kind of go-to, but then we all kind of like quite different things as well. So I think in terms of that and like where our songwriting process is, that's why we find it so helpful just to bring things into the room and everyone just has their say and it's a bit of a free-for-all. Everyone has these different backgrounds. Might have been answering two questions there in one, but it's a bit of a melting pot of ideas and influences, I'd say.
Yeah, and Layla, what's it like in the practice room then, and how often are you able to get together?
Well, we try and get together pretty much like at least once every fortnight, if not more. I guess it depends on when we have gigs. When we have gigs, we're practicing more often when we've got stuff lined up. But it's just we're all just kind of going at it. Like we've all got separate parts. Obviously, there's also Guy, our bassist, and Did's our drummer. And everyone kind of comes with ideas in their head, and we just start playing and riff it. Like there's no real set process, I think. Yeah, it's just a very creative circle, I guess.
Yeah, what's it like down in London at the moment in terms of getting involved in like scenes? I know that word sometimes is not appreciated by everyone, but do you find there's a certain venue circuit or certain promoters where you have opportunities down there, or do you feel London at the moment is thriving in that respect?
I think it feels probably not the answer you wanted. It feels like it's got a little bit harder.
No, that is the answer I wanted, because it's so interesting, because you got so many bands, I guess, based in London now. It must be frustrating sometimes, when you see acts maybe who haven't been around as long, maybe doing well in certain ways, but getting exposure on some platforms, and you think, well, they haven't really done the hard yards, or perhaps because of association, you see them in different spaces and places. So I just want to try and get an understanding of what I consider a great DIY band from London, what it's like to try and get in and around that.
Yeah, I think the main thing for us is trying to find the kind of nights and that kind of scene where it is about the kind of like vibes, we'll say, and it's free entry, people are actually going to this kind of night because it's a good kind of night and whatnot. It is increasingly hard to find those kind of opportunities and good venues, I find, to make that worthwhile, because it's a lot of work getting ready for a gig, rehearsing, you want it to be like a worthwhile night, not one of these things where promoters charging £15 on the door and no one's going to turn up. It's a Tuesday night. But we've played a few gigs recently in Brighton actually, and we find it's like a completely different vibe in terms of the crowd seem more up for it. People are turning up, going to see, and also the amount of venues and things, you know. And it's literally half an hour on the train, whatever, 45 minutes on the train. So yeah, that's been a real positive kind of recent discovery for us.
Yeah, great. In terms of recording your stuff, Layla, I mean, do you have plans, or have you worked with someone in particular, or is it all self-recorded?
Well, we actually record it all in Brixton mainly. We either in Joe's study or in Brixton in the studios that we practice in. We essentially, because I joined not long ago, I've kind of been popping my vocals over lots of existing bits, which we have all just done, me and Joe, in Brixton Studios, just in a tiny little room with a mic. It's very DIY, but it works. And then Guy, our bassist, mixes it all together afterwards. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. We've not as yet branched out into anything fancy. We're just very much doing ourselves.
Yeah, we're actually sorry, Frank. We're actually recording some more tracks on starting on Saturday, laying down some drums. So that involves, we'll do it bit by bit, you know, Guy will go mic up the kit, record some drums, then we just keep adding to it over a few weeks.
Yeah, and is that in the same room I've seen on the track Adventures you recorded for us? Is that the space?
It is. That's where the magic happens.
It's where the magic happens. Tell us a little bit about this track, if you wouldn't mind, Joe, because you've recorded for us here on Amazing Radio. Thanks so much for recording it. Just give us a little bit of a background. How long's this been in the locker for, if you like?
How long has it been? It's been, I'd say it was about 6 months or so. We kind of finished it, and then we had a bit of a lineup change. So as Layla kind of mentioned, she added some bits on later on. We kind of reworked it. But yeah, I think it's been about 6 months. But we've really only recently started playing it live. It's only had a few outings, so yeah, still feels very very fresh.
Yeah, Layla. Yeah, and Layla, do you enjoy the track as well?
Oh God, I love it. I mean, I went as soon as I was played. Joe sent over it was Adventures and a couple of other tracks that we're probably going to put out in the coming months. Sent me over a little SoundCloud link to listen to them, kind of demo versions of them before I'd joined the band, when I was just kind of dabbling. And I was like, this is a bop. I love it. That's why I was involved. I was like, obsessed. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, just such a good, it's very much my style of music. It's like the kind of heavier side of indie pop. It's like, yeah, that's what I grew up on. So was immediately hooked.
Well, let's listen to it. Let's hear it right now. This is Shrimp Eyes in session for us here on Amazing Radio. This is Adventures.
Try them against the
Shrimp Eyes in session for us here on Amazing Radio. Got Layla and Joe on the line. Thank you so much for that brilliant session and for recording it for us. And just a reminder, you can see it on our YouTube channel as well. Is it a bit weird when you set up cameras in your practice room where you wouldn't normally do that?
It is. It was. We kept having to remind ourselves we need to look like we're having fun.
Don't pick your nose. Yeah.
Reality is, it's like 8 o'clock in the evening after we've been at work all day, and it's like we're suddenly being watched now. We need to remember to smile.
Yeah. What I mean, just give us another perspective then, of a DIY band in 2023. You'll probably have day jobs, I imagine, or or at least doing one job alongside the band. Is the band a real release for you and a hobby which has bonuses attached to it, I guess, and I guess the real reason you get into a room in the first place with your friends is to have fun and a bit of expression. Is that still the core reason for getting in there?
100%. I mean, we could probably both answer this. I'd say because I mean, I do a lot of songwriting just sat at the computer, but it can only go to a certain point. You kind of realize, I don't want to keep mentioning COVID times, but when we couldn't practice and stuff, you kind of forget that's the whole point of it. You just getting in the room with your kind of mates, banging out an idea, and it's just the kind of best feeling, really.
Yeah, Layla, is that the same kind of feeling for you as well? It's something magical happens, isn't it, when you're in a room with like-minded people and you all hit the right notes and it all comes together. It's a real sense of pride there as well, isn't there?
Definitely. And I also think the kind of building up to playing something live, the act of playing a gig is just the most social thing ever. And it just feels like such a nice, I mean, even asking your friends to come, it's just such a nice bringing together of people. And when you've got something to perform and show for them that you've kind of been practicing, it's just the best feeling in the world. No matter how big or small the venue, even with doing, if you do little open mics and there's 10 people there, it still feels like a really worthwhile, you come home feeling like you've done a really good job.
Yeah.
Which is,
it's great. Layla, have you got any gigs in the diary or anything you can mention coming up?
Do we, Joe? I'm actually not sure.
We're on putting the feelers out. So yeah, if anyone hears of anything.
No, I think the promoters will be listening to this and they'll want to get a piece of the action. But that means you must be busy on the recording side, then, Joe. I mean, what's in the pipeline there then? Yeah,
I mean, this is probably the most proactive we've been in terms of writing and recording recently. So, I mean, that's the positive of when you don't have anything in the diary, you can just focus on that. So we've got another few songs in the bank. We're going to be recording another 4 starting from Saturday. Just kind of building up a good kind of repertoire of new material.
Yeah, Joe, is the ambition to one day have a full length record put out by someone? Is that still a goal?
I think so. I think we're kind of working towards an EP now, which we never really. It's only ever just been singles before. So yeah, we're working towards that.
Yeah, and Layla, is that something you'd like to achieve as well with the band? I mean, what would your ambitions be, your realistic, tangible goals with this project?
Well, 100%, yeah. Putting out a full-length record would be amazing. I guess we're not really in a era of full-length records, so that's obviously a very difficult thing to do. And maybe not, I don't know, maybe not in this market tangible, but it feels like something that would just be so... it would just be so great to be so proud of something finished and proper. But I also understand that people aren't really listening to full records anymore. So it might be singles and EPs for a while, but that's also all good.
Yeah, Joe, you strike me as someone who's a little bit more nostalgic when it comes to record making. To put out a full record, and Layla touched upon it there, it's not a climate where the record is king anymore. But, I think... for me, anyways, as someone who still buys music on record, on vinyl, is that still the pinnacle for someone like yourself? A creator like yourself.
Oh yeah, that it would be the dream. It's a difficult. It's not really a reality for us at the moment. We played the gig the other night. And we kind of said, it's available everywhere, but physical. It's the practicalities of working with something physical and your storage. I think at the stage where we're at the moment, where we love putting the songs out, then we love making merch and things as well. So it's like if we're going to do something physical, I quite like it to be focused on that side of it for now, or that's a little bit more achievable. But I would love to, working on a vinyl, being able to do your artwork and whatnot would be the absolute dream.
Yeah, you need to try and think of a way of pressing like a 7-inch on a t-shirt, which you can fold up and put on the record player. No one's done that yet, right? I think I saw
that's cheap.
Yeah, the band The Witches, they've just put out a new 7-inch and they've pressed it on X-rays from one of the band broke a bone, and they printed 20 or 30 of the X-rays he had done for, I think it was a collarbone. But they managed to go to the pressing plant and say, could you do 20 one-offs of this? And they did it, and they put it out. I think that's pretty cool.
Wow. One of us needs to break
going snowboarding or something.
Yeah.
Someone needs to push me off the stage.
Yeah. Just be careful. Just be careful with that. Guys, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to do the session, first of all, and to speak to us here on Amazing Radio. I'm sure it's not just myself who's a big fan. We have listeners who always react when we play your music. So keep the singles coming and the EPs, and eventually we'll get that album one day, I'm sure. And definitely we'll be seeing you around the country or at festivals soon, because you've got a great sound, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for all your support as well. And it's great to have an opportunity to do the session. So really enjoyed it. Thank you.